Is being the center of the universe holding you back in life and recovery?
Well, in this episode, we'll talk about right-sizing your ego as you learn to trust your higher power on the journey. Well, it's July 12th, and it's time for another double shot of My Sober Truth. Sean, giving up center stage. I think we're on a roll here. I think we're on a...
I'll tell you.
They seem to be repeating a theme here.
Yeah, we're getting into a theme here of a lot of the same stuff, but that's what happens month to month, man. 12 steps, 12 months. So we're talking about a lot of the same stuff.
Well, if you realize if we had gotten this the first go around, we wouldn't need to have to pound it into our head
That's right.
over and over again. And
Absolutely.
So I think repetition wins. I mean, you think about it. How do we learn times tables? Repeating. So
Absolutely.
How do we learn to stay free? Repeating. And so I have a feeling we're going to be talking about, willingness, acceptance, humility today.
Yeah, it could be.
Okay, and so let's dive in. And so I have a question for you. And so humility was a problem coming in. We talked about it in the last episode. And you talked about some of what you did, but I want to recap in case somebody missed that. Okay. But what did you do early on in your recovery journey to grow that humility?
Well, so very early on, I didn't really know what to do. Luckily, I went to a rehab, and they had some folks there that didn't help pushing the topic on me, which is what I needed. Mm-hmm. I needed, in the beginning, I couldn't ask myself those tough questions. I wouldn't ask myself those tough questions. The questions that I know I need to ask myself today to try to keep myself kind of on a level playing field and trying to live in some humility, I couldn't ask myself those questions. And I didn't want to answer them. I didn't want to talk about them. So luckily, I found a sponsor who pulled no punches, and he asked me the hard questions. We had some other guys that I learned to really respect in the rehab that I went to, and those guys pushed me, and they pushed me to get better and to be better and to want to be better than I was yesterday and to move my life forward. And they would ask me these hard questions that would break down this big wall of ego that I had built up around me when I completely had nothing to deserve any ego, much less this big, massive ego that I had. Okay. So I didn't know the questions. That you start working a recovery journey, you start working steps, and, there are things that go along with that, these questions that you really have got to get to the bottom of in your life. And that's where having a sponsor, having someone who can give you these hard questions, who can make you look in the mirror, it really becomes such a huge deal, because you can talk to them about your problems and what's going on with you and what you think your problems are, but normally they're going to see through your bullcrap, and they're going to be able to, if they have much experience at being a sponsor, they're going to know, they've heard it a million times already, and they know what to ask you. Hey, you tell them your sob story about all this that happened, and then they basically know what to ask you. Well, what's your part in that?
Right.
And that's really what it all boils down to, is what is your part in all of this mess? And there are things in life that happened to me that I didn't deserve. But most of the stuff, the bad stuff that happened in my life, most of it, I had some sort of a part in. And I just also want to reference this, that I had brought up some things in my past one time, and they weren't my fault. And so I asked my sponsor, how in the world do you get over something that's not your fault? What do you do to do that? This person that wronged me isn't ever going to come apologize for it. So how do you get over that? Well, it's not your responsibility. So my responsibility doesn't then lie in, how do I want to put this? My responsibility is to let it go. Right. My responsibility is not to live in that negativity. Right. There are a lot of people who have had a lot of wrongs done to them that were not their fault. And it's really hard to say, well, what was my part in this, if you didn't really have any part in it?
Right.
People who had things done to them when they were children that they didn't really have any part in that. But yet what's your part? Your part is to let it go.
Absolutely.
Your part is to figure out how to move on. Turning all that back around to learning how to practice humility and move forward in humility. You know, I was an egomaniac with an inferiority complex. So I had to start adjusting how to get through that and over that. One of the biggest things that I can tell you is find someone whose story resonates with you. Right. Go to the rooms, listen to people talk, find someone whose story resonates with you and talk to them. See if you can find a sponsor. Because having that personal relationship with someone that you can tell and need to tell everything, right, is a huge piece of this puzzle.
I love it. I love it. You know, and you were saying that even in the situation where about wrongs, when it wasn't right, your fault and stuff, there's an act of humility in saying, here is my part in this. Right. If even it's just, I'm not letting this go. Right. I'm letting this past event control right, my life today. And it's hard. I mean, it's you know my heart in this. It's a process in that situation. And so as we wrap up, I'm going to ask our viewers a two-part question. Okay. You know, I like a good bonus question every once Absolutely. In a while. Okay. And so folks, just like I asked Sean, what did you do early on in your journey to gain humility? That's part one. And part two, if you've been on this journey for a while, what are you doing now to remain humble in your journey? Take a few minutes to think about your answers and put it down in the comments section below. I know what you write today is going to help somebody else make good strides in their journey. And on that note, from My Sober Truth, I'm Mark.
Hey, I'm Sean. And here's hoping that today you stay drunk with success. Love y'all. Hi, folks. Thanks for watching. If you're ready for another round of My Sober Truth, then belly on up to mysobertruth.com and click on the double shot button today. There you'll find the daily inspiration, encouragement, and support that'll help you stay clean, on track, and growing in every area of your life. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, and if you got a minute, stick around, watch another video. Love y'all.